Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar showing how to integrate Dux-Soup Turbo with your CRM tool using Zapier. Today, here with you, we have Giles Garnett, the Head of Professional Services, and on the live chat, Jim Kuzminskaite, the Head of Customer Service. And at the end of the webinar, we will have Q&A with Giles as usual. So thank you so much for joining us today, and let's start our webinar.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you may be in the world. And once again, thank you for joining us in the latest of our Dux-Soup webinar series. My name is Giles, as I was just introduced there. I'm Head of Professional Services here at Dux-Soup, and you've just heard from Jin, our Head of Customer Support. Now, for anyone who joins these webinars regularly, you'll know that Jin does our Q&A and mans the question box on a fortnightly basis. If you get a chance today, can you say thank you to her, because today's her last time doing the chats, doing the questions and answers for us. So due to a change of circumstances, she's not going to be doing these going forward. She's still with Dux-Soup, don't worry, she's not going anywhere. But just to, if you get the chance and you want to say thank you to Jin for her help, especially supporting, I've been doing these webinars for 3 years or so now, so also a special thank you from me as well there, Jin. So thank you for all your hard work. These webinars wouldn't go quite so smoothly without your assistance, I can assure you.
Thank you.
Today, let's get on to the topic. Right, today we're going to be talking about integrations and how easily they can be achieved and realized and customized from your perspective if you're a Dux-Soup Turbo user. When Dux-Soup is used in conjunction with a no-code platform such as Zapier, the possibilities can be almost endless. Now, while I'm presenting and talking, as always, please raise your questions via the questions box to Jin for the last time, and she'll do her best to answer those. Keep them on topic, and I'll try and answer any at the end of the webinar. So do keep your questions on topic. While you're doing that as well, can you also throw into the question box which CRM or other platform you're looking to integrate with Zapier? I'm curious as to what platforms people are using. I've got a list of things that I'm aware of, which I'll show at the end of the webinar. But throw in any other ones that you want to, and then we can maybe discuss those towards the end of the Q&A. As always, webinars being recorded and will be made available to you in the coming hours and via our website and YouTube channel as well in the next day or so. As I stated, I'm going to be talking mainly about Zapier and integrations. And so this webinar is very much focused on Dux-Soup Turbo. So if you haven't yet installed Dux-Soup and you're new to this, or maybe you've had a break from using it, go to the Chrome Web Store where you can install Dux-Soup. And if you've not used it before, you get a free 14-day trial of the Turbo edition. So very quickly, for anyone who's on here and new to Dux-Soup and oh, what are we doing? You know, what are we talking about here? What is Dux-Soup? It's a Chrome extension compatible with some other browsers, which you can use to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. That's LinkedIn Free, the Sales Navigator, or the Recruiter platform. Works against all of those. You select the list you want Dux-Soup to process, and then you get Dux-Soup to run your chosen activities against that list. From a keeping your account safe point of view, human behavior is very, very important. That's how Dux-Soup is designed. And Dux-Soup Turbo, which is what we're talking about today, gives you access to the API and the ability to create, execute, and monitor campaigns through the Dux Dash. And if you want more info on Dux-Soup, suggest check out our blog pages and our support pages where you can find all of our supporting documentation. There you are. There's the URLs in the bottom of the page there. Blog posts on the right and the support portal on the left-hand side. Okay, so on to today's topic. Dux-Soup and Zapier, and what do we mean by a no-code integration, and what is Zapier? So Zapier is very much the lead, well, one of the market leaders in the no-code integration space. It's a very user-friendly environment where there's literally thousands of platforms that have been integrated with. And it allows us to have data and/or commands sent from one platform to another, following the rules that you set out in your integrations. I found it incredibly intuitive to use. There are alternatives out there, and we'll probably be covering Make, for example, in future webinars. We've not touched on that for a while, so we'll be coming back to that. But I'm just conscious that this time we want to focus on Zapier. The interface has changed a bit over the years, so it's good to revisit this. So that's Zapier. Why and what to integrate? So when looking into this, you need to understand what your requirements are and why are you automating these actions. Do you want to just create a simple automated task list to manage your workload, incoming messages, new connections? Do you want to bring contact details from LinkedIn into your chosen platform? Or do you want to capture the incoming messages against your contacts by using a platform such as Zapier in conjunction with Dux-Soup and LinkedIn? You can really streamline your process and hopefully work more efficiently and get the data where you want it. What I'm trying to achieve today is to open your eyes as to how easy it is to build a solution that suits your needs. I can't possibly cover all CRMs and platforms because it would be a never-ending webinar, and I think you might get a bit fed up with me. But the idea is to walk through the steps so that you can replicate them appropriately to your situation. Some of it will be directly applicable, and you say, oh yeah, great, I can copy and paste this. And in those cases, we can also provide the templates if we've got a template already written. So I've created a bunch of zaps already today in preparation for the webinar. If needs be, I can always share those templates with people who need them. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through a three-step integration with Salesforce, and it can be applied to almost any CRM that you use. So we're going to talk about Dux-Soup and Salesforce. We're going to build a simple integration with the aim of bringing first-degree contacts into Salesforce and then having our incoming messages from those contacts appear as tasks within Salesforce. We've also got a blog post from a while back, which will get updated as well. And then, yeah, you can see how that all works there as well. This is like a step-by-step guide. So with Dux-Soup and Salesforce, we're going to have three zaps. We're going to create three separate activities within Zapier. So whenever someone accepts a connection request, when everyone becomes a first-degree connection, we're going to trigger an auto visit because they become more interesting when they're a first-degree contact. You can see more details. We're going to, whenever there's a first-degree connection is visited, have that data put into Salesforce so that you get your new prospect, your new first-degree connection, or maybe your old first-degree connections who you're auto-visiting, have those put into Salesforce. And whenever a first-degree connection messages, have that message appear as a task in Salesforce, again, of course, against that correct contact. Now, there's two custom fields which we're going to create as part of this, and it's a very, very simple process. Again, it's documented in our blog posts. Oh, note, where possible, we advise creating these custom fields whenever you're integrating with a CRM or database. So we're going to create two custom fields to match up with your LinkedIn data. It's a LinkedIn ID, which is a unique identifier from LinkedIn that we can use, and then the LinkedIn URL, and that's the URL of the prospect. Okay, so batten down the hatches. Let's dive straight in. So here we are. This is Zapier. And I've got here some zaps that I've already created. And what I want to do is just walk through the process. So zap number one, if we remember back to our presentation, let's go back to the presentation a second. Zap number one was whenever someone connects, auto visit them. That's what we're going to do. Right, so very, very simple here. This is this zap here. So tell you what, let's create a new one while we're here because it's very easy to do. So I'm going to press the create zap button. Now this has changed a bit. We used to have to copy webhook links and blah, blah, blah. And it was all a little bit of a painful process before. Now it's incredibly intuitive. First thing we're going to do, we're going to get a title. So we're going to say new first degree auto visit. Can't type. There we go. Auto visit. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say to trigger is going to be there for Dux-Soup. So we're going to take the Dux-Soup, the latest version of the Dux-Soup. Here we get to choose the events that we want to capture. Here we go, a LinkedIn connection event. We click on that one. Great. Press continue. Now we need to choose our accounts. Now, if you've not linked your Dux-Soup account to your Zapier account before, all those details are in your Dux-Soup options under the Connect tab, just to show you where that is. Oops, go to our Dux-Soup options and our Connect tab. Down the bottom here, your credentials, your API credentials are down the bottom here. If you've not done that before. So we choose our accounts. In this case, it's this one here for me. There we go. We press continue. Now we need, hopefully there'll be some test data here, some some data that will be already cached somewhere. So there we go. I've got someone here who's a new first degree connection. We can see here this is somebody who's become a new connection. Great. Now, what's the action I want to trigger? I want to trigger an auto visit. Again, so we go Dux-Soup. There we go, Dux-Soup latest. And the event we want to trigger here, these are all the options. We can do all of these, we can trigger all of these options if we want, but actually we just want to trigger, in this case, an auto visit to that profile. We press continue. Again, we choose our account, make sure it's coming from the correct account. In that case, it's that one. Press continue. And now we just need to tell Dux-Soup which profile URL to automatically visit. So that comes from this trigger, the new connection event here. We go to here, and we can see here the profile URL of the new connection. There's the URL. Simple as that. I could now press continue, and that would be created, that zap. So if I just come back out of here, I don't want to save that. I'll just show you the one that I created earlier. Wait for this to load. I should have opened this in a separate window or tab. Running a little slowly, Zapier today. And there we go. So here we go. We've got this one here. Dux new connections auto visit. That's exactly the same as the one that I just showed you there. This one is monitoring for my new first degree connections and triggering an auto visit to the profile accordingly. That's all done and dusted. So if we now go back here. So that's the auto visit part created. Now in Salesforce, if we want our connections to appear in Salesforce, so after those auto visits occur, we then want those prospects to appear in our CRM, in this case Salesforce. So I'm going to go to my CRM, to Salesforce in this case. If you're in your contacts, we need to create those 2 custom fields. It's very, very straightforward to create custom fields here in Salesforce, and you can do it in virtually any CRM. Pretty much any CRM will allow you to create custom fields. In this case, if we go to our contacts and we click on our little setup cog here, and we go down to, I think it's edit object, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, here we go. And then we go to fields and relationships. And then we can here press new and create a couple of new custom fields. Now, I'm not going to create another custom field here. Let's go back. There we go. But what I've done earlier is I've created these 2. So I've got here LinkedIn ID, which is a text field, just a plain text field. It's alphanumeric, and a LinkedIn URL, and that's just a URL field there. So those 2 fields have been created in my Salesforce environment, which is great because I can now do a lookup against the LinkedIn ID to make sure the person doesn't exist already, and then I can just get Dux-Soup to create, or Dux-Soup to send that data across, and Zapier to create a new contact whenever I visit a first degree prospect. So if we go back to, where do I go back? Oh, there we go, that's that one up there. Going around in circles, there we go. Bear with me. Oh no, I'm in there, so I need to go back here. There we are. So these are some new prospects that have been created through my integration already, and I'm not going to show you that integration here. So here we go, Dux and Salesforce visits. So let's have a look at this particular Zap and walk through what I created here earlier. So here I did a new profile visit in Dux-Soup. So whenever a new profile is visited, let's go in and edit the Zap because then we can see. I'm choosing here a new profile visit. Again, I select my account and I set up the trigger. And here I'm only choosing to have first degree connections that have got an email address. You'll see here you've actually got some other options here. You can have every profile you ever visit. You can have ones that have an email address, first degree, etc., etc. You can put different filters in there. Then you test your trigger. This is some sample data from earlier. And then I'm doing here, find a record in Salesforce. So here I'm asking Zapier to send some data across to Salesforce. Have a look, does the person already exist? If they don't, then please create them. So here in Salesforce, I go to find record, then I choose my account, my Salesforce account, then I set up my action. So here my Salesforce object is of course a contact. I'm creating a new contact in the CRM environment. The field to search by here is the LinkedIn ID. That's the new field and the new custom field that I created. And then so that comes from within Salesforce here. And then I'm asking it to search against the profile ID from the original visit here. So this again here, if I go into here and I look at my options here, we'll see here we've got profile ID, and it's always that ID dot something, and that comes from LinkedIn. That's a unique identifier against each record. And then I'm asking it to create a new Salesforce record if it doesn't exist yet. So in this case, I'm just then mapping the data across accordingly. I'm putting in the first name, the last name, middle name if it's there. I've put in the location. You could add other data here as well. And depending on what fields you've got populated in Salesforce as well, you could of course add more or less. I've added phone number here, email address if it's available, job title. I can put in department. I can put other bits and pieces in here. And I'm making sure I've got the LinkedIn ID here and the LinkedIn URL. So I'm capturing that data within Salesforce. The LinkedIn, the profile ID here is particularly important if you want your messages to appear in your CRM. It's how we can match up the data. So when a message comes from a certain person, it has that identifier against it. We can then map that data straight in there. So that's how I'm getting my data now into Salesforce. So we can see here, these are the people I've had come in so far already since I created this particular scenario earlier today. So let's go back to our list of zaps here. So that's now we've done the auto visit, and we're now capturing, in this case, first degree connections. And now we want to do our messages into Salesforce, have our Dux-Soup messages go into Salesforce. So here I've got my third and final zap here, Dux messages to Salesforce. Let's have a look at that one. We'll go into the editor. We'll just click the edit zap so that we can have a look at it. So here I'm going to ask Dux-Soup to listen out from when a new incoming message is arriving. So here again, under my Dux-Soup options, my options were, if you remember earlier, we had a connection event and a visit event. Now we're looking for message events. So trigger when a new message is received. So that one's enabled. Choose the trigger. Choose the account. That's the same account as before. And then again, if I go into test, we can see here, this is some test data here. This is a message that I received recently. Then I'm going to ask to do a lookup, find the record in Salesforce. So I'm going to match up that ID number that we talked about just now. We choose the account. In this case, it's my Salesforce account. And we set up the action. So here we're looking for a contact. It's the contact. And again, we're looking up by the LinkedIn ID. And then here, the search value comes from the message data at the top, this new LinkedIn message event data. Here we go, the profile ID of the sender. So that's the key number that comes in there. And then we do a test action and it comes up. Yep, here we go. There's the ID of the particular person. So great, we've now got that ID. So we know which record it needs to go against. What we can then do is create the record in Salesforce. So we're now creating that. So we've done the message has come in, we've matched up who that message is from. Now we want to make sure that the message data appears in the right place. We go into Salesforce, the options here, we go and we create a record. We choose the account, we make sure we've got our Salesforce account details in there. And this is where we then create the record. So here, I'm asking it to create a new task in this case. And then here, this information here, the name as to who it goes against, actually comes from this second step, the search step, the find record. And we go in here and we can see here this ID here. That's the ID that Salesforce needs in order to map that data to the correct contact, should we say. Then down here, we've got a bunch of other options. So we can give it a title. In this case, I've just given it LinkedIn message, so I know where it's come from. And we scroll down here, we can assign some other values as well. And here we can see under the description, I've added the text of the message. So here, there's the text of the message. And I've also added the URL of the message. So I can dynamically go straight to that conversation in LinkedIn if I want to. And how that looks is once I've done all of that, once I can go down, I can set deadlines and priorities and all that kind of stuff. Let's close that. Let's go back here. There we go. It's still on, I think. Yeah, it's still on. So if we go back into Salesforce, that's the one I'm thinking of, and we look at that particular person. So here, we click on here, and we can see then I have a new, well, I've got it in as an upcoming task. It's a LinkedIn message. I click on there, and we can see here, there is my message that's come through from this particular person, and there's the URL to the message, directly to the message. So that way I can get all of that information coming through, where I want it, when I want it. Of course, you need to have a certain base of data in your CRM in order for all of this to work. You need to have a well-populated CRM of the correct LinkedIn data with those LinkedIn IDs, and then you can start to really benefit from getting that message data through. This with Salesforce is something we looked at, I think it was back in 2021. So I think it's a couple of years ago. There is a blog post associated. We'll update it with all the latest screenshots and that sort of stuff. But it is available on our blog page as it is now. Let me just grab it a second. So it's this one here. Yeah, it was back in April 2021. The steps are very similar, but yeah, some of the screenshots need updating, but we will make sure that's all there. But the steps are all exactly the same. It's all pretty intuitive. You'll find that the interface with Zapier has changed a little bit, but essentially it's all there and can be followed from that there. So I don't know if maybe we can make that available via the questions box or the chat so that everyone can get access to that. But the concept of this is the same for every CRM. Now we've looked at a CRM. Now the other thing that I wanted to look at, oh no, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, there we go. Let's go back to our slideshow. So we've looked at our 3 zaps for that. Okay, so let's click through that. We've done all that. We've done our creating our new custom fields there as well. Now, you may want to look at a much more straightforward and a much simpler integration with something such as Clickup or Slack, for example. A simple notification whenever you receive a message or a new connection. So these can be achieved with basically a single zap. Very, very straightforward activities here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, okay. So if I go back to Zapier here, let's go back and have a look here. And I'll just show you a couple of examples here, hopefully. Apparently there's no folders, zaps in that folder. Oh, okay, so it's logged me out. Bear with me 1 second. I will just need to log back into Zapier. The joys of live webinars. Bear with me 1 second. I'll just log back in. Where is the... There we go. We're back in now. There we go. Let's go back in there a second. Okay, so we were talking there about Clickup or Slack, for example. So here I've got one that I created to have just Dux LinkedIn messages going to Clickup, for example. Now, of course, you could extend this and you could put, for example, user data in there, contact data and all that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to do here was just show you how easy it can be to listen for a LinkedIn message here. So just a new LinkedIn message event coming through, and then just creating a task in Clickup. So here I've just created a task. I'm adding it to my default folder here. And all I'm asking it to do is to say, yeah, incoming LinkedIn message from first name, last name, the message text, link to the conversation, and when the message was received. And how that looks in Clickup is here. So here, for example, you can see here I've got an incoming message from somebody here. There we are. You can see the message that comes in. I could then, if I go down here, I can go straight to the message and I can respond to that message there. And then it's either in progress or indeed complete. And that way I can manage my task list here. I've also created a second one in this case where I'm listening for new connections. So here, very similar, there you are, I've got a new connection from this person, there's their URL. I can then see, I've actually put a label in here so I can see which campaign they come up against as well. So I can then dynamically see here, for example, in Clickup, how my campaigns are progressing. And you can check all of those sorts of different boxes and make sure you have different statuses against different activities that come in. That's Clickup. Similarly with Slack. So let's go back to, let's go back into here. Hopefully it's not going to log me out this time. There we go. LinkedIn messages to Slack. This is another example. Here I have that to load up. So I get an incoming message. Maybe I use Slack as my my channel for being able to monitor messages rather than being constantly logged into LinkedIn all the time and monitoring things through there. Here, new LinkedIn message coming in. I want it to then just go straight to directly to a certain channel in Slack. So I could set that up in exactly the same way. Here I've just added the fields that I want. I want the first name, the last name, the message text, link to the conversation, the URL of the person who sent it to me and when they sent it to me, and then how that looks here in Slack. Hopefully you can see that there. You can see here I've got my various messages coming in, when they came in, who they're from, etc., etc. there. So that way I can also then have everything just dynamically appearing in my appropriate Slack channel. You can define all of that through Zapier in a very dynamic and very straightforward way. Again, as I say, all of these we can make available as templates if you want them. Not a problem at all. We can make sure that they are all readily available. All of these examples that I'm showing you today, we can easily create templates. Now, earlier today, somebody asked about Keep CRM. So just to show how easy it is to do, Keep as in K-E-A-P. I created a very quick example here in Keep. Again, if we go into here, I'm just asking whenever I create a visit to create or update a contact in Keep. So here I've just created a quick account. I'm checking for duplicates via the email and name, and then I'm just mapping the email, first name, last name, middle name, who they work for, job title, all these other bits and pieces into here, into my Zap. And how that looks in Keep, here we go. This is how it looks in Keep. So we can see here, these are the people coming into Keep. I've also created those custom fields that we talked about. So if we go into here, we can see, hopefully, there we go. There's my custom fields down here, my LinkedIn ID, my LinkedIn URL. So I can go straight to the person if I want to. Yeah, it's also finding the email addresses or mapping them into the correct field for me, because that's how I've set up my Zap. It's very, very straightforward to do. I didn't have time to go further with this one and do the messages as well, but I suspect it's a very similar process, although I'm not sure what the lookup options are there on Keep, but essentially this can be realized in exactly the same way. So let's go back to our slideshow a second, because I'm just conscious of time and I want to give people chances to ask questions. So do think about your questions. So here we go. Yeah, that was our Clickup and Slack one that we talked about very quickly. Simple notifications when you receive a message or a new connection. Other platforms. So these are some examples of other platforms and CRMs that I've seen people using. So Keep CRM, Zendesk Sales, Oho, Job Adder, Redtail CRM, Monday, Fresh Sales, Active Campaign, many, many more. Hopefully you've been busy putting some of those in the questions box so that we can see what other platforms people are using. I think I've also seen, Bullhorn is one as well. There are all sorts out there. But it's really about thinking about how complex you want your integration to be. Is it a simple one where you just gather info and put it into your chosen platform? That could be the profile info, or it could be a notification around a message or a new connection. Do you want to catch the profile and the messages in your chosen platform? And then there is a further step, which we've not touched on today because we can only do so much in the time allocated, where you could gather the profile info and messages, and then when you change a status of a prospect in your CRM, it then reverses and then triggers an action in LinkedIn. So for example, if you change a status of a contact in Salesforce, you could then say, yeah, when Zapier recognizes that, you could then enroll the prospect into a new campaign, whichever one you've designed. So you've got sort of kind of a two-way possibility there as well. But think about what you're trying to achieve with your process and how that can be realized. I've probably talked enough now. I've been talking for half an hour. So Jin, for the very last time, do you have any questions?
I have one so far. One user was very interested. Do you have experience in interfacing with the Odoo? It's O-D-O-O. I don't know how to pronounce it.
O-D-O-O. Never heard.
So at the
O-D-O-O.
moment, the answer is no.
Okay, the number one source CRM, open source CRM software. Okay, let's see if it's integrated with Zapier, shall we? Because it's not one I've come across before. There's only one way to find out, isn't there? Let's wait for this to load. Zapier does seem a little slow today. Create a Zap. So let's go Dux-Soup. Choose an event. When a visit event occurs, choose an account. And only want first with email addresses. Continue. It kind of feels like there's anticipation now. Continue. Yep, it looks like it's there. So if I had an Odoo, I don't know. There we are. We could just create a lead. So we could create a lead. That's the only option we have here by the looks of things. Press continue. I guess then, yeah, I then need to sign into my account, which I don't have, and then you would be able to map your data. And of course, all the data that you could map is basically this data here. So all of this information here, you get first name, middle name, last name, all this other information here you could map into there. That's just with an auto visit, of course. But no, that's a new one. I will have to look into that one further because that's not one I've been aware of in the past, Jin. So there we go. We've learned something today already.
Thank you. Also, some of the users asking, does Dux-Soup provide help with setting up CRMs in Turbo through Zapier?
We do provide help. Of course, you'll need your own Zapier account. You'll need to have an account set up there. And my suggestion is that you think about your process that you want, and then ping our support team a message. The email address is there, or you can go to support.dux-soup.com and message our support team. It may be a fairly straightforward question that you've got. It may be a fairly simple activity, in which case our support team will be able to support you very, very easily. If it's a more detailed and more in-depth activity that you need support with, then we can, of course, and this is a good opportunity to promote these, we would, of course, advise you to book a technical session in that case, $80 an hour, and then myself or one of the team would then support you in taking you through, making sure that it's working end to end, and making sure that you're getting out the data that you want. Be aware of the limitations of some CRMs. Some CRMs don't allow you to do a lookup against certain fields, and be aware that you do need, ideally, those custom fields to be created. There are some CRMs that have those limitations, but most of them allow you to do custom field creation and a lookup against them, because that would help us to make it as simple as possible and as reliable as possible for mapping data. Otherwise, you have to do lookup against first name, last name, and that's not always reliable. But yeah, essentially, we can support those activities either through our support team where possible, if they're relatively straightforward questions and they're platforms that we're familiar with. If it's less familiar and it needs more work, then we would advise booking a technical session, and those links are available through our support team.
Thank you. We have quite a few questions on does Dux-Soup integrate with Go High Level?
Not directly, and Go High Level does not integrate in Zapier. However, it does with Make. So that's on my list of things to look at in the coming weeks. And I suspect when we do our make.com integration webinar, then I will be covering Go High Level, because that's come up a few times in the last week or two. So it's on my list here to do. And yeah, I was looking earlier, and yeah, I can't find a Zapier integration with Go High Level. But yes, certainly with Make, and as and when I've had time to look at that, then we'll be making sure that we make that information available appropriately.
I also want to point out that we have 2 direct integrations that do not require Zapier, which is Pipedrive and
3.
3. Oh, sorry, 3. Yes, the fresh one. Sorry. So Pipedrive and
Pipedrive and HubSpot. Yeah.
HubSpot. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, just in case people aren't aware, if you are using any of those 3 platforms, Pipedrive, HubSpot, or SharpSpring, if you click on your Dux-Soup icon, you go to your Dux dash here. Any second now. There we go. Down in the bottom, or on the left-hand menu bar here, you can go to your CRM connections, and this is where you can go into to match up your Dux-Soup account with your appropriate CRM account and choose what data you want to appear in your CRM. So yeah, this is where you would go to put in your credentials and then make sure that that all comes across accordingly.
Thank you. That's it from our users. No more questions.
All right, so in 2 weeks' time, yep, 2 weeks' time, we're going to be looking at sort of kind of starting from scratch with Dux-Soup. So we're going to do a sort of like a how to install it, how to run it from the beginning, as it were, how to get started and get some messages out there, how to sort of scale up your lead generation. If you've not used Dux-Soup before, if you've not used any sort of automation, we're going to be talking through that and some of the concepts around messaging, how to engage with people. So that's coming in 2 weeks' time. I've already mentioned them, but yeah, booster sessions, technical sessions, if you need support, if you need extra support, I should say, on top of our fabulous support team, then yeah, you can book those through the appropriate links available through the support pages. That's it from me, and I think for the very last time, I need to say to Jin, can you sign us off, please? And I'll speak to everybody in 2 weeks' time.
Sure. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you for the opportunity to reply to your questions, and hopefully I will see you again, but joining in as a customer. Bye.
Bye-bye.